I'm Asian Freeman, the Artistic Director of Bunnell Street Arts Center. And as a nonprofit, we've been around for about 30 some years, losing count. And it's really our privilege to strengthen and inspire the physical and social and economic fiber of the community through artistic programming in a variety of genres. I'm joined by my colleague, Brianna Allen, who is going to record this, and by our friend Chelsea May, who's providing American Sign Language interpretation sponsored by Creative West. Yeah. It's really exciting that we can document and share this out with our Alaskan and international community, because as a presenter of exhibitions and residencies of arts and schools, our network is really growing and expanding. And you're all really a part of that. You know, our supporters and members are what keep us going, especially in these times, strange times. And so exciting to have very established, very loved Alaska artists returning to Homer to share their work. Carla Potter, a ceramic sculptor, and Antoinette Walker. And so I'm going to invite these ladies to speak about their exhibition. I'm going to invite Carla to come on up first. So I'm just going to invite you to kind of give a little biographical background.
Biological background. I have one X and one microphone.
Well, I was thinking about your show, you know, deviant biology,
Right.
because it is the kind of biological pursuit that you have
Right.
here too. So
Right.
that was
Asia wrote the catalog essay for a solo show I had at the Anchorage Museum in 2003, I believe. And I had one of my first solo exhibitions here in Homer at the Bunnell Street. And I'm not exactly sure how I got connected. I think it might have been through Fran Reed. But anyway, I grew up in Ketchikan. I lived there for 40 years. So the rocky shore and the coastline is just embedded in me, and has provided inspiration for a long time. As a kid, of course, walking on the beach and the little tide pools just were magical. You know, I would pack up a big lunch. You know, I'd get up early in the morning, make potato salad, and like, okay, Mom, I've got us all ready. We're going to the beach. And she's like, yeah, I have 6 brothers and sisters. Like, maybe I don't want to go to the beach. Anyway, so it's taken my life. As we were installing yesterday, I realized that the show is really very illustrative of Antoinette and I's work, and some of the theme of my work, which is, you know, bringing up the small and the trod upon and putting it on the wall as something valuable. And so we have the macro, which is the big, beautiful landscapes and the sentimental objects of human culture and landscape, and they're beautiful. And then my work is the micro, kind of the stuff that's underfoot. And it's been very thematic in my work for a long time to take that place. Like I was putting it on pottery, kind of the way you would put gems on a ring, or on, you know, I was making goblets that would have been studded with rubies and all that stuff, but I was putting the barnacles and limpets in that place. So they've kind of landed in my work. And just a few years ago, as I say, my brother asked me to do this installation in his house, and I was brought back to these 2 basic forms that I love, and thinking about doing them larger instead of as a decoration in that context, or actually making the vessel into just being the singular items and bringing them up and putting them on the wall, because people think of pottery, they don't think of it, and the value is the same way they might think of art and sculpture. And then also yeah, just putting those barnacles again in a place of more prominence. And I love the idea too of the palette and the mosaic aspect of being able to kind of take all those different individual forms and organize them on the wall, however you might like. They're all handmade out of porcelain. And yeah, they're really fun to make. It's easy to have the variety, you know, because I do this other work that's very, very time consuming, and it's just been so refreshing to make some smaller things that I can use as a palette for paint and texture. And they're just forms that I've loved all my life. So I'm so excited to be here at Homer. And I saw Denali today. I've been here so often, I didn't even know you could see Denali from Homer. And I was up at the big viewpoint, and I turn around, I'm like, holy shit. It was like so clear all the way. So it's been a very special day. Enrique took me and showed me a little nest on the stairway down to the beach. This little nest hid under the grass with 4 little babies resting their little orange beaks on the edge of the nest. It's so adorable. So it's been a super special day. And then I get to come here and welcome all these people to see my work. And feel free to come up to me and ask me any questions. Thanks so much for coming.
You in the light, it was really beautiful. Antoinette. Here. And that's always, I sort of continue and go like. I'm like, too. How you got into this?
Well, okay, I'm from Kodiak, and I've lived in Kodiak most of my life, at least 60 years. I've lived in other places, but I've always returned home to Kodiak. This body of work is stuff I've done before, but it's more about my feelings and my love for Alaska. A lot of it is just that. I went to Oaxaca. We used to have property in Mexico, and we got down to it, but it wasn't in Oaxaca, it was in Chiapas. And we stopped in Oaxaca City, and I saw a piece of Encaustics, and this is like the year 2000 or maybe 1999. And I didn't know what it was. I accidentally, because it's so textual, I put my thumbnail in it, but I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to, but I couldn't figure out what it was. Anyway, I come back to Kodiak and I asked my artist friends, and no one had heard of Encaustics. And so our next year we go back to Mexico, and on our return, we stopped in Barnes and Noble, and there was a book out on it. And I studied it and ordered some Encaustics medium in pigments and started to work in it. And I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I was calling R&F Paints in New York, asking them, what do I do here? I had no idea. And so they had workshops at that time in New York and in San Francisco. And so I went to San Francisco and I took a 2 or 3 day workshop and learned the basics. And I've been working in it since. And so it works well for me and what I do, and my love for weathered wood, rusty metal, and you know, I can layer papers in there, scratch back and scrape in and do those things. I fished in Bristol Bay for 20 years. I haven't in the last 2 years gone back there. I troll for that. And but I love it, and I loved it. And I still listen to KDLG. I still listen to look online at the ADF&G fish reports. I follow it closely every summer, and my love is still there for it. When I was there was some double enders. They're still there, rotting in the grass, and I mean, it just like why can't they take those and fix them and put them back in the water? But that's just not going to happen. Didn't happen. But eye and float them. So that's what I do. I take folks that are falling apart and I put them up and float them. And I feel like they have a very feminine line to them. And, real curvature to their hull. And like the one that's back there that has, it's called Bow Spirit. To me, these are feminine boats. They're women, and that has a strong bow, big chunk of metal up there, and that's a real strong boat. These are Homer boats. Actually, the Bow Spirit and Rubber Ills is the same boat. I was in the wooden boat yard that I know had a hard time this winter, and those boats are almost unrecognizable. But I had taken a photograph of those last time I was here. But so let me tell you about this one's in Kodiak tagged, and it's tagged to be burned. And I don't know if the person didn't pay harbor fees or what happened with that. But another one that I like the whole shape of it. And the painting that's next to it, which is called Blue Lines, is a side view of it. And I like the way that these kind of boats I can lay in papers and scratch out and I use oil stick on top, rub it in, scrape it back off, and it gets into all the grooves. And this painting that's over there is on the way to Lake Iliamna as we leave Bristol Bay. And it was a subsistence site that they had reds hanging there. And I remember when I was a girl teenager, this guy offered to take me to Old Harbor. And there was all these racks of fish drying, and we didn't see that in Kodiak, but it still brings back that nostalgia to me, is seeing the fish still hanging in those places. So this painting that's behind me is out my window in Kodiak. I live in a 1940s house, but across the street from me is a city lot, and it can't be built on. And so this is my view, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. And that's what this is. And through my window, I see the crows go over there during low tide, and they get the mussels. And this is actually not a branch, but power lines. They get up on the power lines and they drop the mussels down onto the road, and the cars drive over them, smash the mussels, and they go down and get them. So smart. I love it. So back there, that south side Naknek is when we fished in Bristol Bay, everybody still does but me. We would go from Kodiak down to Falstaff and come back up the other side, and it would take like 5 days and nights running time. And when we get to Naknek, that was kind of a welcome, and it was it's not there any longer. They demolished it, but it was kind of like the Statue of Liberty, because you were going to go into shore and you were going to go to the D&D and get a piece of walk. That was nice. And I don't know if you want to know anything about any of my other paintings, please feel free to ask, and I'm just happy to tell you about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thanks. Oh, I don't think